Morning, everybody, and I'm coming to you from my home, as you can see. And the reason being is I have a dentist appointment this morning. So unfortunately, I cannot make our normal virtual live lecture. So I'm doing this pre-recorded one so that we can make sure that we get the information that we need today. So first and foremost, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow we do have a due date. The bill of material and the assembly planning sheet is what's due tomorrow evening by midnight. In order to get everything that you need for that, what you need to do is you need to watch the first video in our Machinist Device project. So if we go to Learning Plans and Virtual Links, we're going to go down here to the Machinist Device project, and you are going to go to the lecture videos, and the number one here you need to do. There is a planning sheet in both a PDF and an Excel format here. I talk about and talk through this entire process. This is due tomorrow night by 11:59. So you have to get this watch the entire video. It's just a half hour long, but it kind of kicks off our project, gives you all the information that you need, and it lets you know what's required so that you can get the maximize your points on that submission. That project then will be submitted through your homework assignments. It's the very first homework assignment here for our project, and it's the bill of material and assembly planning sheet. Okay, so that's what's due tomorrow night. Then what we're going to be doing today and focusing on is looking at the first draft drawing packet, drawings that you're going to be making. Now these are split up into 3 different packets. There are 10 drawings that you need to do in order to complete this full set of working drawings. And those are individual pieces that are not purchased or standard equipment. Again, identified in that bill of material and assembly a planning sheet. So those 10 need to be created. So instead of handing in all 10 at once, I broke it down into 3 packets. So there's 2 packets. The first 2 packets have 3 each drawings on them, or models, and then we have a 4th one. So this is going to be first draft drawing. So you're going to have to create the model first and then create a detailed drawing for each one of these parts. Now, these are going to be due, they're on your course calendar as well, and these are going to be due when you return from Thanksgiving, that Monday night at 11:59. Okay, so you basically have from today a full week to work on these. Okay, so make sure that you're keeping up with the videos, but then maybe taking some time over the weekend. I don't like doing that for you guys, but to kind of keep on course here. Detailed drawings and the models shouldn't be a problem if you're utilizing the time that we have here on each one of the days, okay? I can assure you that for me, I think I took model-wise, creating all the models, and I haven't gotten all the drawings done, but I've in their basic format, it probably took me a total of, I don't know, 6 hours, okay, for each one of the pieces here. And then now I probably have another, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 hours to get the details done. So within the next week, if you can find 10 hours, which you should be able to because we're allotted that time for each one of these days, you should have plenty of time to get those done, okay? So start now, start getting those models going. So today we're going to be looking at the details, the model and the details for the base and the sliding jaw, okay, the base and the sliding jaw. And I'm just kind of looking here where my one print is, but I don't see it right now, but that's okay, that's all right. Now, to aid us in this process, okay, we've got a couple resources out here that we want to be sure we know where they're at. So I'm going to go into the Machinist Device project folder, and if you go to a folder that I have added out there called Handouts and Reference Materials. Now, up until yesterday, there was kind of just individual handouts that were in here and not organized, so I did add this folder because it was starting to get to be kind of cluttered. So the Machinist Device pictorial drawing, that's this guy right here, okay? And this is the PDF form of that. So if you click on that, it's going to be the PDF form of it, and you can choose to print it off or just reference it here, okay? So here's the assembled device. Here are each of the piece parts, okay? So what you need to do is just start modeling. When you model, in the first draft mode, what you're going to be doing is you'll notice that in some of these areas there's some fits or limit dimensions. You're going to draw them to its nominal size. So for instance, this is 1.004 to 1 inch. Just draw it 1 inch wide. End of story. then it's 1 1/4 down here. So for the first draft drawings, and when you create your model, you're going to be drawing to the basic sizes that are listed here, okay? And if you're wondering which one to do it for, then what you do is you also have available to you a folder in here in this handouts and reference materials of the first draft drawing guides. So if you click here, and I click on, for instance, we're going to be looking specifically at the base drawing today. If I look here, this is what your final drawing is going to look like, okay? So if you're wondering, okay, what numbers should I make those features to? Oh, on Kelly's guide, here it is, okay? So, so use this so that as you're creating your model, and then ultimately when you're creating your drawing, that you have all the elements that are needed, all right? So I have these guides out here because I realize you guys are still kind of in that, especially with me. You guys had Connie previous to this, so she ran things just a little bit differently, and I have different expectations. So I want to be sure that you guys know what I'm looking for, and I think the best way to do that is to show you what I'm looking for. Now, ultimately, you have to create the model. You have to create the final drawing. You can't just hand in my PDF here. So you may say, well, that you're giving us the answer. I'm giving you what I want. And when you go to a company later on, they're going to be giving you things like, this is like what I want, but you have to change this, that, and the other. Okay? So that's really what I'm doing for you here. I think you need to have good things to reference so that you can make good drawings. It's one thing to know the rules, but now how is that supposed to look? What are some, you know, what do I need that Kelly is going to be looking at and grading? So I'm kind of your boss for the company you're working for and telling you this is the format that I want. So here is that what I call the drawing guide, okay, for your first draft of the base. Now there are going to be things that are going to change on here. There's going to be a second draft on the base because we're going to be looking specifically then at fits and such, okay? So so that's coming soon. But right now, just focusing on first draft models and drawings. First draft models and drawings, okay? And that's what's in this drawing guides folder, okay? So let me just go back to handouts and reference materials. In addition, the bill of material assembly and planning sheet in PDF format and Excel format are also here. These are referenced in lecture number 1. Make sure you go back and do that. That is required, and that's due tomorrow night. Okay, that's due tomorrow night. And then we also see a stare it tap drill chart here. Stare it, however you want to say that. I say stare it. I hear it both ways. Okay, so let's go back one level. Oopsie, actually I wanted to go to the machinist device level. And then what I want to just show you is the folder for the homework. There are specifically, it looks like 4, 5, 6, 7 homework assignments here, but there's not that many due dates. I'm going to tell you that. So bill of material and assembly planning sheet here. This is going to be due tomorrow night, all right? Or look on the calendar, depending on when you're watching this. And then you'll notice that I have 3 packets here of first draft drawings. Since there are 10 drawings, I didn't want you handing in all 10 at once. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is kind of do this in the order so that when you get your first packet done here, just hand it in right away, all right? That way, if you get that corrected and handed in right away, then you know, oh, okay, I have to pay attention to this, that, and the other, okay, for my second and third packet. So I'm going to try to turn those around as quickly as possible as I see them come in. And then, but you don't have to have them all in. You don't have to do it, one at a time if you don't want to. You can hand them all in next week, Monday, which is a week from today. And again, depending on when you're watching this. So, so first draft, second draft, third draft. These are all going to be due on the same day. So this is one due date, just 3 different submissions to kind of break it up so it's not so much all in one. Then we're going to have a vice fits check sheet. And then you're going to be filling this in. We are going to do an entire lecture dedicated to looking at where those parts fit together. And on the sheet right now, there are some places where there's limits. We're going to confirm those, or we're going to change them. All right. So we're going to go through and we're going to look specifically at where these parts are fitting together. How does that look? Is that something that we feel is good for its function? And we're either going to accept, what they have there, and we're going to go with their dimensions, and we'll check those first. But if we find an issue, then we're going to make some corrections along the way. Okay. Now, The 7 drawings that are affected by fits are the ones down here. So then once we do our fit check sheet, then we are going to do our final draft detail drawings based on the numbers that we decided on here, okay? So then you're going to be fixing up the drawings, and they're going to be then in their final format, okay? Some of the drawings that we did in our first draft will remain in that version, okay? But if there is a final draft, or if there's changes that need to be made based on the fits, this is where we're going to be submitting those, okay? And that's down the line a little bit, and then finally a final assembly drawing, okay? Now, this project, all right, I want everything to look nice and uniform. All right, so what I have done is, if you would, you're working for me, you're working for LTC, and you're going to be now using our drawing borders for this project. I haven't required that up to this point because we had the one where you guys were able to make your own, but now for the Machinist Device project, you need to use the LTC drawing borders, which are with our new logos. And so if we click on here, I have expanded out and I have created for us more borders here, okay? Before we only had A-size versions. Those A-size versions are still here. So there's 3 templates for details, whether it's a 2-view, 3-view, or a 3D view, okay? Then there's 2 versions of the assembly, 3D view or a 2-view. And the reason I kept it to just those 2 was because on an A-size border, it's kind of impossible if we're gonna do an assembly to really have more than 2 views on there. Okay, but then when you get down into the B-size borders, okay, same templates for the details are the first 3 here. Then you'll notice I have an assembly 2 view, an assembly 3D, but I also have an assembly 3 view. And that's because when we start getting on the larger formats, we probably have the room to add that extra view. And then you'll notice I only have 2 for the C size because again, here, the intention when you go to a C size is I need that room and I need more views. So I've got an assembly 3 view and I've got a template 3 view here, okay? Now, when you download these borders, and these are all updated and they're all perfect, okay, I believe, I've tested them and I believe that they all work the same way. When you download these templates, you also have to put the corresponding format sheet in the directory that you're working out of, okay? So your working directory. So if you have the A-size borders downloaded, all 5 of these use the LTC_A format sheet, okay? So you need that one format sheet for all 5 of those. Then for the B's, same thing. There's 6 of them, but you only have to download and have in that directory your format sheet for it, okay? This is the same as what we had before. So I would suggest, if you wanted to, just have them all available, just download them all. Just download them all, put them in that same working directory that you work from, and then you have them and you don't have to worry about it. Because if you're pulling up your borders and the outside isn't there or the logo isn't there, but parts of the title block are there, it's because you pulled the template in, but you don't have that format sheet in that working directory. That's it. Okay, because that format sheet houses all that other stuff. So you need both of them in that working directory. So make sure that you have that there, okay? All right, so new borders required for the format sheet. I just want to be sure. Oh, the other thing about filling in, when we get to the assembly level, and the bill of material is going to be filled in for us, and it does it automatically. There's a field there for the part number. So when we are creating our models, this is really important. When we're creating our models, your file name, or I think it's the model name, is just going to be the classic name that we're calling it. So if it's base or sliding jaw or jaw plate, whatever it might be. But in the common name, the line underneath, a lot of times we leave that open, okay, or we haven't been putting anything in there. Put your part number in there, okay? Whatever part number. So if it's an 813001 for the base, that part number goes in that second place. And I'm going to show you that when we create a new file for that, okay? So that is going to then automatically fill in the file or the part number portion on the assembly drawings, okay? So I'll know if you did it right or not, because when your assembly drawing gets done, if it's not, then you're going to lose points, all right? So I'm telling you that right now. So as we're creating our drawings, I want to make sure that you do that correctly. Okay. Threads. All right, let's look in Creo here. Now we've already done some parts that had threads on them. If you recall, when we put them together from earlier chapters through our tutorial book, they didn't show the threads at all. Okay, they didn't, and it's because if I go down, I'm underneath the holes here. It says engineering, and what Creo does is you can model them and then spiral them and create them. Now that is geometry, in my opinion, that you are taking up disk space, and the files get much larger and harder to kind of handle because of all that geometry you're creating, especially in a spiral that just repeats itself. So when you did your AutoCAD, if you remember, you created what we didn't draw each one of the peaks and valleys of threads. What we did was we specified them, and we showed them as what we called simplified versions. So you would show, like, for instance, if it's an external thread, the outside diameter was solid, but then there was an offset line that was hidden that would mimic or show the root diameter of that thread. And we can see that in a number of the drawings that we have in the guides. Okay, now this is where Creo does it differently. They create what they call cosmetic threads. They never model the threads. Okay, well you could. You could draw them if you wanted to, but to me that's unnecessary because it's just a thread. And all it offers you is on the diameter, you're going to then allow it to create the note, and you can just put the note in yourself. So if you wanted to go through the cosmetic threads process, go ahead. I am not going to be adhering to that because to me, that's another level of just like unneeded detail. Okay, when on the drawing level, I just have to make sure that my note specifies everything that's needed. Because functionally, we don't need the threads there. Okay, we just need to have an accurate note. All right, so in Creo, we're not going to worry about modeling or even showing simplified version of the threads themselves. Okay, we're just going to draw the nominal size hole or the nominal size shaft diameter, and then our note is going to depict exactly what the thread callout will be. Okay, so that's how we're going to handle that here in Creo. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about section views. Okay, section views are going to be added for a number of our prints. Okay, and they're needed because we have to be sure that we are not dimensioning two hidden features. And there's two places where they're specifically needed, and that's going to be in the base, which I have up here. I already modeled it, and we're also going to be using them in also in the sliding jaw and maybe one or two other places. Now, I just want to preference this that as we are creating our models, we will need to put some datum planes in here so that when we create our section views later on, we make sure that we have it the datum planes already set up in the model. It's harder to do it in the drawing itself. So we have to kind of just think ahead. And if you forget to do it, you can always go back to the model, add it, save it, and then it'll come up in our drawing because we know they're parametric. So that's something to consider as well. I just want to make sure. All right. So a couple things here. I created my model for my base. So I'm starting here with my base model. And basically, as we look around here, this mimics exactly, everything that I have on my pictorial view here. When I created this hole right here, this is the Acme thread. I created it to a size of 5/8 of an inch, 0.625 diameter. Notice that there is, nothing but that major diameter of that thread there. Okay. When we put the vice screw in place, okay, and let me open up that, and I'm going to show you that as well. The vice screw the vice screw, the portion that is threaded. Now I haven't done the drawing for this one just yet, but this portion is not modeled with teeth. But when I create the drawing, I am going to point to this section and it is going to have the call out for the Acme threads that would correspond and mate with this hole right here. Okay, so again, in note only is how we're gonna call that out. If you wanted to take the time and go through it, that's totally up to you. No extra credit, no extra points, no nothing for that, because to me, it's not time spent efficiently. Okay, again, we have to kind of go like this with our time. Like there are due dates here, and there's, you know, what do we need to manufacture the part? We need to know. We need to know how far. We need to know where it's located. And we can get that across without having to model to that level of detail. Okay, so notes only for threads, whether they're external or internal. Now, you can, and you'll notice here too, I'm gonna actually use this as an example. I put this threaded hole in as the hole wizard, okay, as the hole wizard. And you'll notice that it has the full call out here, but it doesn't show the threads. Cosmetic only. Cosmetic only. All right, so so that's the deal there. That's the deal there. All right. Now, as I look at my detail drawing for the base, okay, detail drawing for the base. Let me go back over. Actually, let me minimize this. Out of that. Here is my detail drawing. Oh, this is this guy. I actually wanted the, I wanted this one. Okay. No, I don't want that one. Dang it. I need and want my machinist device, handouts and reference. I want the drawing guide for the base. I want this one. Okay, I want this guy right here. Now, you'll notice that I have a section view, okay, right over here. Now, as I'm in my model, I'm gonna just kind of think ahead. Now, again, if you don't do this until you start your drawing, you can always go back to the model and create it. But I'm gonna show you how I put in what we call a datum plane for the placement of the actual section, okay, the placement of that section. So let's go back to this guy right here. Now I have my datum plane in there, and it's in between in this area right here on that what I call the bed, okay, the bed. And that datum plane, if I showed my datum planes, okay, it's this datum plane right here, and it's called datum plane number 1, okay, it's that datum plane right there. Now, if my section corresponds to an existing standard plane, so if it's top, front, right side, I don't have to do this because I can select it in my drawing. But if it doesn't, like in this case, it doesn't, okay? It needs to be along the bed here somewhere, all right? Then I need to put it in place. I need to put it in place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to put a datum plane in place, and it's really, really simple. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on the plane, and I need to now figure out where's a reference plane, where's a surface or a reference plane that I want to you know, go in relationship to. So I'm gonna say I want it to be in relationship to that face right there. Okay, so that's surface 7, and I want this plane to be offset a distance. Okay, a distance into where that bed is. So I'm gonna leave this at offset, but I could do a through, I could do a parallel, a normal, a midplane, whatever it might be. So I'm going to do offset, leave it as is. And then what I need to do is you'll notice now there is a purple arrow. Okay, that purple arrow is telling us the direction that whatever we put our number at, the direction is going to go from that reference plane that we just, that surface number F7. Okay, and it's going to go to the right. So that means that I want this to go to the right into my bed. Now, I think what I put the last time was either like 2.5 or 2 or something like that. So I'm going to offset it so we can see the difference. I'm going to put it at 2.75. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter. It went the opposite way. It went to the left. Dang it. We're going to try that again. And this is the beauty, the challenges of the challenges of Creo sometimes, or any CAD system. Like, okay, that means I have to put a negative in front of the number. So I'm going to select my surface. I'm going to have offset. And I'm going to do negative 2.75. You little thing, right? Negative 2.75. There it goes. Okay, now I don't understand why it showed the picture originally over here, but whatever. But now you'll notice that I have an offset right here. This was the new plane that was created, and this is DTM, datum plane number 2, or datum 2. Okay, so now I have that plane in there. I'm going to file, I'm going to save. Okay, so if I go to my drawing of this base, okay, that's right here. I'm going to turn first off my planes, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to look, and I'm going to turn my planes back on, and I'm just going to turn my datum planes back on. So you'll notice in this view, I have a plane right where my cutting plane is. That was that original datum plane that I put in there that was used for the section. Now we're showing the second plane here. This is the one that I just put in at the 2.75, okay? That was from this surface over to the right, okay? And then I can turn those off if I don't need them, right? And they go away. All right, so now I've got that plane in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how to make another view, okay? Now, I'm not going to use this view in my drawing because I already have it right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the process for which you would take, okay? So I'm going to actually create a section view through the new plane that I created. But I first have to have a view that's there already. So originally this border, this is a B-size border, had 3 views. It was a 3-view B-size border, okay? And it put my right, front, and top views in there. But now I needed, in addition, I needed another view, okay? So what I do is, off of whatever view that I want to project from, I'm going to click on here, okay? I'm going to click on here, and this box comes up, right? Now, we have used the first 2 here, whether it's edit the definition or the properties of that view, or looking at the dimensions, the center lines, and all that kind of stuff, the annotation of the view. Now to the right, this projection view, I can actually create one on the fly, okay? So click, and you'll notice that, oh, I'm just pushing my mouse around here, and I'm going to go over to the left. Now, in this case, I'm going to go off of the view, off of the drawing border, just because I have room over here. I'm going to create this, all right? And it just creates my view for me, piece of cake. And when I left click, it just leaves it there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, double click on it, and I get my drawing view menu to come up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the view display, and I'm not going to follow the environment. I'm going to say hidden lines. Actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to say no hidden, because this is going to be a section view, so I don't put hidden features in a section view. And then as far as for the tangent edges, because I do have these, this is a cast piece, I'm going to say none when I have my hidden view here, okay? Or when I have my section view. And then I'm going to say apply, okay? And I'm going to say that looks pretty good to me, and I'm going to say okay, okay. Now, this is just a view of this back side, this right side, okay? So if I look, this is in projection, this is in projection. I took the hidden lines away so we don't see any of that stuff. I want to create a section view now, okay? I want to create a section view. So I'm going to click on that view, and I'm going to go back to the properties of that view, all right? And I'm going to go to sections, 2D cross section, and I'm going to add, okay? And I'm going to create new. Click on that, and it's going to be a planar single, okay? So that's exactly what I want, and I can say done. Then I'm going to enter in the name. I'm going to call it C because I haven't used that letter yet in my thing. I did a B when I was practicing, so I'll do a C. I do OK, and then I'm going to click the plane that I want it to be associated with, and that plane is right here in the front view. I'm going to click it right there. And then it says full. It has a green check by it, and I'm going to hit apply. There it is. Okay, there it is. Okay, now basically I did a section. I'm on this side of it, so it's looking in that orientation. Once I have this in place, now I need to go to my layout tab, and it's here, and I need to put my arrows in place. And I'm going to click this view to put the arrows in. And here's my section C, and it put it in place for me. Okay. And then now I can add any dimensions or, information that I want to add here. Okay. Now I'm not going to keep this one in here because I don't need it. I did a section A, all right, and that was my original one, pointing in the opposite direction, going in that direction, because I chose that one because then I could dimension my threaded holes and their location in that view. So that was a better view of it. But I wanted to, for demonstration purposes, show you how to put that section view in, making sure that prior to I have the plane in my view, in my model in the place that I want it to be. Okay, so again, to create it here, to create that extra view, because it's going to come in, standard is going to have 3 views here. I have to first create the extra view, all right, and I do that by clicking on the front view and this right most projection view icon here. Click on that, and then now it gives me that option. I can go wherever I want. I get that extra view. Then I double click on that, and I need to change the view display to no hidden, because this is going to be a section view, and none on my tangent edges. Apply. And then we can see what it looks like. All right, that looks good, and that's okay. And then I go back into it. I guess I could have stayed in there. I go to sections, 2D cross section, plus to add one, create new, and then don't forget down here you've got to say done. Okay, there's nothing to do, and then you're going to do, for instance, D, enter, plane, and I got to pick the plane. Okay, so the plane has to be visible. All right, well, I'll pick this plane. I don't know, and it's probably going to say no, you can't do that. Yeah, because it's in the wrong orientation. But once I pick my plane and I hit apply, yeah, I want to get rid of that. There we go. Plus, create new. Done. I don't want to spend a lot of time with this because I already did. So C, no, I did C, D. Let's do E. Okay. And I need to find that plane then. Because I called it out as a planer, I have to use it. I have to use a plane. So I'll just pick this one. Yeah, it's going to say, it's going to do it. Why? Oh, it is. It's just going to do another one over that same place. Okay, and then I'm not going to add the arrows. I'm actually going to get rid of those in this drawing because they're not required. So this is not a view that you're creating, remember, unless you wanted to, but I just wanted to show that process. So I'm going to get rid of these guys. Rid of this view, delete, and it got rid of the arrows as well. Okay, so I'm going to also clean up. I'm going to get rid of all of my plane views here, and then I'm going to zoom in here. Okay, so let's look at a couple things on the drawing here. So notice that we have our section view. This is section AA. Again, I picked this one because of the ease of being able to, get some other drawings or other dimensions in this view. It was a better view that I could take advantage of. Notice how I drew the width, because these are the nominal dimensions coming from the model. I drew the width of the slots here that are created, or the cutouts, to their nominal size, and they're being dimensioned to their nominal size right now, even though on the drawing here, there are limits, all right? I'm drawing them to the nominal size, and I'm dimensioning them in the first draft to the nominal size. So if there is any place on here that has limits, you're going to notice that when you create it, or the dimensions that are on my drawing guide, they are to either one of those dimensions or a middle dimension. And I usually tried to pick dimensions that were to a nominal size. So for instance, on the width of the cutout, the 1-inch part of the cutout here, this is actually a limit on here of 1.004 to 1.000. Okay, so I drew it at 1 inch. All right, nominal, and so on. So you'll notice that play out as we as you dimension and such. Okay. When you specify your border, when you create a drawing, let's create a drawing from scratch because I want to kind of show you that process and how you're going to do that. So for instance, file, we're going to do new, we're going to do drawing, and I'm just going to call it DWG01. And then I'm going to put my common name. This is going to be my drawing number, 0.00, for instance. I don't know. I'm going to say 11. No, I'm going to say 15 because I don't have a 15. And I'll just draw. Okay. Now I need to just find, I'll browse. I guess it really doesn't matter. I'll just do base 1 is fine. Base 1. And then I'm going to browse to my borders. Okay, they're going to come up. The templates are going to come up. So you'll notice here that I have, I'm going to do a B-size 3 view, totally fine. And I'm going to do okay. And no, not the assembly, sorry. I want the template 3 view. There we go. B-size template 3 view. That's for the detail. And then open. And I'm going to say okay. And it puts it on the border for me. All right. Now, a couple things. Notice the orientation isn't right. All right. And that's going to all depend on how you set up your planes, but that's okay. We can change that in a little bit and I'll show you that. Enter in, you'll notice up here, it's wanting me to enter this information. This is drawing number. So 3180015. Okay. Again, I'm not using this one. And then drawn by KRR. Then it's going to ask for the material, cast iron. Okay, and it fills in the title block for me. Okay, now orientation here. Let's just kind of clean this up first before I worry about orientation. So I'm going to go down to the lower right hand corner here, change this to annotation, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a box around all of the annotation and delete and get rid of it. Okay, then I need to change this back to general so I can do some other stuff. And the other thing, it looks like my planes are already turned off. If they aren't, go to select on and off here and toggle those off. Then what I'm going to do is I need these to kind of flip each other, right, and have the right view. So I'm going to double click on what would be my front view. And instead of the front view, I'm going to select the top view as it shows it here. And it's going to be apply. And it says, yep, it's going to switch things around. That's totally fine. And now this makes more sense to me, right? This looks better. So I've got a true top view, front view, and a right side view. So this all looks good now. And now I can hit OK. So that's how you change the orientation if it doesn't come in quite right. Try to think ahead of time so that your front view matches where you want, where your front plane is. But if it doesn't, you can change it. All right, it's not a huge deal. And then you will go through the process of creating the extra view. So again, on here, creating that extra view, and this time I'm just going to go over to the right. Okay, and again, double click on that. Go to my view display. I want no hidden because it's going to be a section view. None of those guys. Apply and OK. And then you can create the section view after that. Okay, so that's how you get started. And nominal sizes here, paying attention to the guide, okay, for the dimensions that you need, where, you know, a place to place them. But if you find a better place and you're like, nope, I know this is going to match the standard, I'm totally open to that. And then making sure you're using the LTC borders required. And also that you have everything filled in appropriately. So when you create this, okay? One last thing about creating your models, okay? So what you want to start doing now is just start creating those models and the drawings, okay? And the detailed drawings. I'm going to create a new part, okay? Create a new part, and this is going to be test 2, okay? Now, the file name is test 2. That's what you're going to see it in your files as, okay? Common name, this is where I want you to put your part number. So 3180016, okay? it's going to correspond. You're going to be looking, when you call this out, for instance, on the base, okay, the file name is going to be base. And then your common name is going to be the part number that we decided on in our discussion. And in this case, it's 318001. Okay, 318001. You're going to be putting in here. This is your part number. Now, this is important because when you do your assembly drawing, it'll automatically populate for you up in the bill of material. If it doesn't, then I know you didn't do this part right, okay? And you're going to lose points. So I'm telling you exactly how to do that, all right? So make sure you do that when you create the model, all right? Just going to look at my list here, sphere section views. All right, so this should get you started on creating your models and your initial first draft drawings, okay? So let's just take a peek back over here. There we go, I gotta get back here. Let's take a peek then again at the first draft drawing guides. So you'll find these in the Machinist Vice, Handouts and References, and there is a Machinist Vice first draft drawing guides. So you have the one for the base, okay? The next one here is for the sliding jaw. The only difference here, now I did create this one in AutoCAD. I haven't gotten my final one completely done for Creo, but the only difference that you're going to see here is that right here I have a cutout section view. You don't have to do that. You can just do the dimension to here because it's identifying the cross or the cutting plane line that is going through for this section view over here, okay? And we're dimensioning to that, which happens to go through the actual screw location, okay, or the set screw threaded hole location here. So you can dimension it right here without having a cutout view in there because you're actually dimensioning to the cutting plane line, which happens to be going through to give you your orientation there. So you don't need to have this little view, but you will need a section view over on this side, okay? You will need a section view over there. I don't know why that is like doing that, but this is just your PDF format. So this one is on a C-size border, all right? And that's what I found worked best for it. Now, this is not on our LTC updated one, so don't worry about that. You are going to use your Creo borders. And as long as you download those correctly in the format that I told you to in the process, you'll be A-okay on that. Okay. So let me get out of that one. And then you'll also notice that your third one is going to be the vice screw. Now for this one, in this orientation, there's two things that you don't need to worry about. You don't need to worry about the detail A to make it larger, and you don't need to worry about the hidden lines. You're just going to call a note out for the Acme thread. You're going to be doing a front view and a right side view for this one. Okay, you only need to do those two views. And again, I'll update the guides as we go along. And that would be the first packet if you wanted to get started on that. Tomorrow, we're going to look more specifically at the sliding jaw and this vice screw, okay? But I wanted to get you started on getting the models created. If you have any questions as you go along, let me know, okay? And just a couple of things before I let you go here. First and foremost, tomorrow is the bill of material and the assembly planning sheet. Go back to lecture number 1, watch it in its entirety. Lecture number 2 here is going to be posted after it's available. For me, it takes a little bit to process it, so it'll be up and in the folder. And then we're going to continue working on detailed drawings the rest of the week here. The packets for the detailed drawings, first draft detailed drawings, are going to be due a week from today. So make sure you're working on the models and getting them on drawing borders. Okay, that's all that I have for you today. If you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow.